Videos are amazing in the sales process. However, many salespeople get caught up on just doing videos for outreach at the top of the funnel. But what if there's a way that you could expand your horizon and use video throughout your whole sales journey? On today's episode, we're going to discuss some of those ideas, and hopefully you could take some of these and apply them to your sales efforts. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another great episode of the Sales Evangelist Podcast. I'm your host, Donald C. Kelly, the Sales Evangelist. And I'm so excited for another great episode. I'm so excited to be here with you today. And on this episode, I have a fantastic guest. His name is Chad Lakin. Now, Chad and I got a chance to connect, and we did a webinar together. And we decided, turns out we had a conversation before. We had plans to have him come on a podcast. And I dropped the ball. I messed up. And we ended up not running his episode for some weird reason. I think we may have messed up on the recording or lost and make amends and fix that. And we're going to bring Chad on the episode today, on the podcast today. We're going to talk about the idea of video. He's the VP at Shootsta. We have a link down in the show notes so you can check them out. And the beautiful thing about Shootsta is that they make the whole video production process, or the idea of creating videos with high quality production, at a small, easy to utilize capability for any seller. You don't have to worry about having a big production team or anything like that. And it's just, you get high quality videos and things that you could use at scales. Because one of the things that sellers tell me is like, yeah, I want to use video, but I just don't have enough time. Which Shootsta, the cool thing is that you can take the videos you create, and you can do them at scale, personalize them at scale. And I won't give all this thunder away from that. But we're going to also talk about how you can take videos and apply them throughout the different parts of your sales process. If this is your first time listening to our podcast, please subscribe. Go ahead and leave us a rating and review. It would be greatly appreciated. Tell someone else about the podcast, how they can find benefit from it as well. As we dive in, you get a chance to learn a little bit more about Chad and what he's doing right now, and see how what he's doing with Shootsta can help you and your sales team. Check it out. Chad, welcome to the show, man.
It's great to be here, Donald.
Of course. So full disclosure, everyone, Chad and I communicated in the pandemic, right at the top of the pandemic. And then the world kind of like went crazy. And with that, we don't know what happened too with the content. We are pretty sure that we did at least a pre-call.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there was nothing for the recording. So we were connected again recently, and it was like, Donald, how's that episode? And we were like, whoa, we need to figure that out. And this is why we're here, ladies and gentlemen. We had a really good webinar with Sales Hacker, and I figured we need to come back deeper, and I can pick his brain a little bit more on how we can utilize videos throughout the whole sales process. I bragged about you a little bit in a teaser, Chad. I told him all about the cool stuff you do and how you rescue cats on the weekends and things like that. But
I got a passion for the felines, you know?
Well, why don't you tell us a little bit more about what you do, man?
Yeah, I've always been passionate about the video and creative space. Came from the music industry many years ago, and got into digital marketing and creating applications and technology, and then joined Shootsta at the very beginning. We launched out of a full service production company. And so from that point on, video is a passion. And more so than anything, Donald, it wasn't necessarily the creating of video content for the artistry of it. It was actually the beauty of like creating creators, if you will. And so at that time, a lot of our model was built around enabling people to create videos, teaching them how to shoot content. And there's just something special about seeing somebody who's never picked up, a DSLR before, and overcome that fear and start making something, with our production services. And that was incredible to watch, because it just changed the way people communicated. And, we've been doing Shootsta for 7 years now, and grown all around the world. And it's just been incredibly to be a part of that growth journey, and even along the way, developing different types of technologies to help people tell their stories. So that's a little bit about me.
It's fascinating, man, and commend you guys for all that you're doing. Some great things there when it comes towards helping helping individuals and helping sales teams. I remember I was one of those people that was really apprehensive against video, like doing this part. The podcast started as an audio podcast, and then I told myself that video was too much work, and I felt that it was a little more work than audio, which there's a little truth to that. But it was really, I was afraid of it, to be honest, and had all kind of trepidation about being on camera. But you get past that and you realize how powerful it can be, and you guys are helping people make magic with it. So, commend you for
Yeah, I
that.
mean, look, the benefit of podcasts is you don't have to worry about what you wear. And with video, you got to be a little bit more mindful of it. So,
A little bit more mindful, just a little tad bit more. So with that, man, video. When we say video in the sales process, many people naturally go to think, and full disclosure, we've done episode on those as well. Like it's a top of funnel tool where you can send a video email, and amazingly, that video email is just going to break through everything else, and people are going to flock to you and create appointments, and it's going to be fantastic. And I get it that it can do that. However, we know that there's way more capabilities, and in more times often than not, it's not necessarily that the video alone brings that person in. It's a part of that journey. And as someone that does this on a regular basis, and you guys have case studies and examples for galore, I wanted to really just like learn from you as far as what else can we do with video throughout the sales journey. And if you don't mind just giving us an overview about how you guys guide people to use video throughout their sales journey, and then we can maybe double down on a few of those examples. That's cool.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, and you're right, Donald. That top of funnel, very popular use case for video, right? It's
Yeah.
about capturing someone's attention and starting a conversation. And I think maybe if that doesn't work, people give up sometimes. Like, well, I made a video, right? It's like video doesn't work because I tried it once, and and it really is a combination. It's multiple touch points. So we know that through data and that type of thing that it takes like 8 to 12 touch points to get a conversation going. So you can't just be thinking one video and you're done. It is about all the other different components around it. So that's top of funnel. So your LinkedIn messaging, your cold calling, you're still doing all that sort of stuff. But video obviously provides that connection point, putting a face to the name. There's also something interesting in that regard around just the familiarity bias around just how people work, right? So the fact that I can see you, Donald, in a video maybe prior to our meeting, and I already feel like I kind of know you, so you feel familiar once we have that conversation. There's a little bit of rapport that's being built. So that's really powerful at that stage. Now, it's not over once you get that meeting, or it's not over once you make that first video. It's about continuing that conversation. So then we look at kind of the efficiency of video. So for example, if I'm throwing out a few different ideas, all of this aligns to relationship building, right? And trust building throughout the sales process. So I've gotten the meeting with my cold outreach video. That's great. We have the discovery call, really cool. Now, notoriously, this is really interesting what you guys do, yeah, let me just have a think about it with my team and I'll circle back to you. And it's like, oh, okay, all right, let's loop them back in. So who else needs to be involved in our next conversation, right? So we want to get those other players on the field. Now, I like to do this because using our platform, we want to get those individuals' names so we can make them a personalized video.
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of having that type of template around your value proposition, as almost think of it as like a 60-second explainer video. And so some people are apprehensive about sharing, the other decision makers, like, oh, no, it's cool. I'll circulate it internally. Hey, it's all good. I'm just going to make them a quick video. You don't even have to give me the last names. I'm just going to say it so they know it's for them. Oh, and every time someone's like, oh, yeah, it's Mark, it's John. It's like, no problem. Not a worry. Take that information, make them a video. So what that does at that stage of the process is it loops everyone in on what you do, and you don't have your champion trying to pitch you internally incorrectly.
Come on, bro. Come on. That's the cost of admission there for everyone on this call, especially for those who are multi-threading and you're trying to get more people in. And I think the key there is like sometimes those decision makers, they don't want to, premature, like bring other people in yet. But if you were able to do that, come on, man. I can't expect Sally to go tell people what the sales evangelist does better than I can.
And it's fun, right? Because what happens is that second call, whatever decision makers are joining that call, they feel like they know you've already started to build that rapport. And you can recap what you discussed on the first call and all that. So that I'm a big fan of that kind of follow-up use case for video. Just some other ideas to throw it out there. I mean, like anything, you're nurturing them. We've all had deals go quiet. We've all had deals ghost us and all that sort of stuff. So again, some of the best conversations I've had have taken months and months, and you're checking in, you're touching, you're adding value. So even beyond this sort of value proposition message, think about just helpful content that you can send to your prospects, right? So you're going to keep them kind of in that process. So this is where we can look at things like more generic videos that you've created. The important thing I find is that you're in front of them. So you're making these videos, they see your face, and you're building that trust and relationship. So we'll do things like, as part of our nurturing, or it might just be like a thought leadership video. So if I'm out there talking about video, talking about sales, talking about all that sort of stuff, and maybe I come across an interesting stat, and I've got a template or a message around, it could even be like lighting techniques. We have a template around that. So it's a quick tip, 45 seconds. I can just make it, hey, I just wanted to send you a quick video just about next time you pull out your phone, here's something to consider when you're looking at natural lighting. Thought it might be helpful. So I can make that video once. It feels personal because it's me sending it to that prospect and they've seen my other videos, but I don't actually have to say their name necessarily. So this is just from an economies of scale side of things that you can rinse and repeat and use that video more often. And you can apply that to tons of different other things. So it's really just about having that bank of content that you can be sharing while you're nurturing that client along.
And what I like about this too is like, and I'm sure you've heard you just use this term, but it's like the evergreen content idea or the evergreen, usage, because you're going to get those same questions asked from the prospect. Like, say, for instance, if you're a software, do you integrate with this and do you do some of these things? I mean, that could be a simple, a video you can have in your repertoire that you can just, load up and you can send out. Or you can show a specific example. I believe that some the latest one I saw was like 65% of the population, so human beings, are visual people. So with so many, in whatever the data might be, somewhere close to that, like so many people though, more than 50% of people are visual, you're going to have a high chance of helping someone better comprehend when you can visualize it, show them something, explain with speech, and they're seeing your body inflection as well. That's definitely helping with communication at least.
Well, it's also you can look at some of the studies around retention of information, right? So a big stat that's out there is someone will retain 95% of a message when it's presented in video, over 10% when it's just data, right? Like facts. And that speaks to storytelling. The fact that you could tell me a story, Donald, about your son, right? And that's going to be way more memorable than, it's like, just, it was his birthday today. But if you talk about like, this is what we did, and this is what there was like superheroes everywhere, then I'm painting a picture, right? And I'm engaging those parts of my brain that is going to store that better in my memory. And so, you apply all of that to the sales process as well. This is what makes, great salespeople memorable, right? You know how to have a good conversation. So the visual aspect of it, absolutely. You don't want to just be engaging on text and email and all that sort of stuff. You want to show more than tell. And I think you can even think about, in the SaaS space, feature little micro demos, little things that you think are really interesting and you're excited about your product, right? That's contagious. So, we'll launch a new feature around, for example, we've got a feature called Hyperbatch where you can make a ton of videos that are individual for each person. That's really cool. I'm passionate about it. So if I've got a prospect in my funnel, then I can be like, hey, Donald, just want to show you this quick walkthrough and I'm doing a screen recording. Thought you might find it interesting. Let me know if it sparks any ideas, right? And so you can kind of send that off. You get that video. You're like, that's cool. Maybe you're busy, but you're building that rapport and that equity with that prospect.
Yeah, and it's not like one of those fake ones where it's like they take a name and they superimpose it on some, whiteboard in their virtual virtual office.
Well, Donald, you know what the tricky stuff is now? I'll be honest with you. It's really interesting, but it could ruin this space for everybody. Deep fake sales videos.
Oh my goodness.
So it's a real thing. It is a matter of time, and I think in that sort of regard, it's interesting. But the power, I believe, is in the personalization at that top of funnel, where it's really like, and this is where, for your listeners, don't just make a video that is the person's name and think that that's enough. Like, video's been out there for too long, it's been out there for a while. We were making it back in 2015 and it was like, really cool at that time. But, the power right now is contextualization. Like you want to talk about the fact that, hey, Donald, I made this for you because of this reason and what I saw. And if it was an article on LinkedIn or I'm listening to your podcast and it sparked an idea where, okay, this person put that time and effort into making something for me, not here's the video that they use for every Donald.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like, there's, and we kind of talked about this on the webinar that we did, like different things that I may do for my org, right? If you were to use those in your efforts, like again, people who take advantage of the podcast, they know they go to the website to see like podcast is pretty prevalent with us, so then they'll take advantage of that. Or and I get my ego built because it's my little baby. Like, oh yeah, they said this about the show, or they have a screenshot about them leaving like a good review or an episode they like, and they highlighted something from the show notes. Like, even if they don't read the whole thing, it's like, okay, well that's definitely for me, not for
Yep.
for Joe
Yeah.
Schmo. And I was like, cool, like they did an effort. Let me at least give you my effort for 2 minutes. Win me over with your value prop now, and if not, then decline.
But that's it, right? It's an exchange of time, right? And that's the goal. Is like, man, this person, and we have salespeople in our world like that hitting us up,
Yeah.
right? Where you're like, props. That was good. I might not even be interested in your service, but I get where you're coming from. I will give you 2 minutes. You earned it, right?
Yeah.
Now, good salesperson's like, that's all I need.
Yeah.
I've earned 2 minutes. I know I can turn this around and find the value in this conversation, and that's what you're hoping for.
Come on, man. All right, so we got the top of the funnel. We got the follow-up use case to help our champ. We have like some, utilizing this in like showcase like a micro demo. What are some other top use cases and in which we can utilize video throughout the sales journey? You
Yeah.
mentioned ghosting as well.
Oh, yeah. Ghosting's one of my favorites, man. Okay, so we've all been there, right?
Yeah.
And I think this is where you get to be a little bit more creative and a little bit more fun. Now, the goal here is obviously to catch their attention because people will make up their own stories, right? So it could be that you've lost the deal because Susie pitched you incorrectly internally and they've made up their own mind about what you do and it's not a good fit for them, okay? Or it could be that there's a million other things, budgets are an issue, whatever that is, and people just go, well, I'm not going to reply because it's not worth it. I don't think there's a future in this relationship. I'm not going to give it the time. So you got to double down on that connection. So have fun with it, I would say. Again, you want to capture their attention and you want to create a little bit of that debt where they feel like they need to repay you with a response. And so, I think I shared this example on the webinar that we did, but, I had good rapport with this client. He's a great guy. We've worked together at a couple other companies and, the deal was ready to go. And when you're forecasting that,
Yeah.
and it's like slipping to the next quarter and they're like, what's going on? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what's happening. So ended up just making him a video, and it wasn't anything fancy. It was just, very authentic in the backyard, San Diego weather at Christmas. He's in Georgia. It's snowing. I know that he's got tough weather. I'm like, hey man, I'm just going to rub it in your face a little bit, but just wanted to say hi, but you're making me nervous. I haven't heard back from you and we're supposed to kick this thing off. Right. And I think even something like that, there's an interesting psychological thing that happens. I don't even think he watched the video, Donald. I sent it to him, though, after numerous emails and trying to get his phone number, all this sort of stuff. And that weekend, he pings me back, man, I'm so sorry. We've been slammed with this sort of stuff changing. Let's get something on the books, right? So I've re-engaged him. But I'm looking at my analytics, and he hasn't viewed it. I think simply seeing the thumbnail and me waving, knowing, oh, man, okay, he put in the effort to make a video, I really should respond. So there's something in that, right?
Yeah.
There's something in that exchange that happens. And then from there, when you get them into a ghosting track, have fun with that first one. You can create a template around it that's got some humor in it, 1 of 3 things that probably happened, all that sort of fun stuff. And then you're still going to go into that nurturing thing, right? Because you just never know when that might turn around. So you're taking some of your videos, if you're thinking of it as like a journey map that you're using at a nurturing stage before they're deemed ghosted, and you can reapply that when they're in the ghosted stage. So evergreen content, thoughtful stuff, promotions, new features, all that sort of stuff, because you never know when that's going to catch their attention and turn it around.
I love it. So brilliant. And I like that fact too, that it's more like you having fun. And the other part to that I get from that conversation there is like, I don't feel that video was that difficult for you to make because it was just you talking as a, just talking to dude. And just, even though he didn't watch it, but it was natural. And I think that's where sometimes people get mixed up. Like I can tell you for me, like when I first started doing my video, and some of my team members, when they first started doing videos, it was just kind of like, hi, my name is David, and we, with the sales evangelist, wanted to tell you about, when it's like, no, just, dude, you were just talking to me about the game the other day, and you were so, a minute ago, just talk like that about what you're doing. And that human element, I think, is what makes it so much more, entertaining or more storytelling that I need to watch it, or that I do watch it and pay attention, because it's not like, I don't know, like sometimes we're too professional. And I hope that people don't get too offended by that, but it's like you're too rigid when it's like we are human beings first, and then we're so happen to be a sales professional. Let's be that human
Yeah.
being to that human in our dialogue. And
Well, we
yeah,
get, I mean, humanizing sales, right? And
yeah,
so it's funny because you read email copy and sequences, and we've all done that, right? And
yeah,
immediately you can go, this was written by a marketer, or is
yeah,
written,
yeah,
and it's like insert first name, and you just go, well, I'm done because this isn't written like a human being. So, especially for your listeners that are in the sort of SaaS space and or enterprise selling, all that sort of stuff, there's so much noise out there, and it's very easy to get lumped in, especially for a big brand that it's pretty faceless.
hmm,
So if I'm an AE at LinkedIn, for example, or
yeah,
PayPal or Salesforce, all that sort of stuff, right? We've got this big old brand, but the customer needs a human connection within that. And this is where we saw a lot of success with one of those companies that was, an early adopter of Elevate, where they were finding that a real challenge to connect with their customers. They were, warm leads, like people that are showing up to webinars or downloading white papers, all that sort of stuff. And they had their metrics pre-COVID, and they were struggling. They were prior, I think, 10 to 15% reply rates, which a lot of companies would be like, that's fantastic, right?
I know,
But
right?
that's, yeah, I'm like, okay. And this is a big org, right? But it was not where they wanted it to be. And so we brought Elevate in, personalized video, and gave it to this sales team. And every kind of like white paper download or attendee to a webinar, they'd make them a video, and the reply rate went up to 70%. Which
Wow.
at first you go, that's. I had someone tell me, like, even if that's true, you shouldn't say that because people will think that you're lying. But that's what happened, and I really think it's because you've got this big tech company, and now you've humanized it because you've reduced it down to an individual, and so you've got a person speaking to a person, and that's where the connection happened. And what you saw with that, as you followed that reply rate through their different metrics, obviously it increased not only their deal sizes and their frequency of deals, but it reduced the touch points as well. So they're able to move through the sales process quicker instead of prior where it took 10 to 12 touch points. Now they were doing it in 4. And so that's just the
What?
power of video. Yeah, pretty
Dang.
cool, huh?
That's again the price of admission that you all get from that amazing stat that was just shared there. Amazing insight. And I would say you just take this and apply it. And I mean, there's so many other ways, and you all probably have more insights. You have when it comes towards video. I'd love for you to connect with Chad on LinkedIn and connect with me and just tell us like, hey, this is how I use video as well, or better yet, send Chad send Chad a video and tell him how
Do
to
it.
use video. Come on, man. We
I
have a
love. You know what I do now, Donald? Is I had someone off the back of that sales hacker webinar say,
yeah,
I want to show you some of our technology. I'm like, that's great. Why don't you send me a video and talk to me about what I should expect on our
bro.
call? And she did it today, and I had to reply with a video. I'm like, we're in it now, so do it.
We're in it. So take him up on his word, man, and apply that. I mean, so many other things, and I want to respect your time here, Chad. But if folks want to get in touch with you, want to learn about Shootsta, want to learn about some of the cool things you guys are doing with video, or get more insights from you about type of videos they can create or how to do it and all that fun stuff, how do they go about connecting with you?
Yeah, I'm super passionate about this space, so happy to give whatever time I have to anyone that wants to explore more of this video sales landscape. So connecting up with me on LinkedIn is the best place. So it's Chad Lakin, Lakin. There's not a lot of us out there, so you can find me pretty easily. Feel free to just to connect up and say, hey, I heard you on the Sales Evangelist podcast. Would love to ask you some questions. There you go. And you can also just, head up our website, shootsta.com. So shoot and then sta.com. Check out what we're doing. If you got any questions, again, happy to help however we can. We're just so passionate about, enabling people to create content and really getting out there and becoming storytellers.
Done, man. Well, I appreciate your time, man. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you for helping us out. And I'm going to use that in a use case follow up. And I have a client that I'm going to do that to, a prospect, right after this today.
Love it, Donald. That was a pleasure, man. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much. That was Chad Lakin. And if you haven't done so already, ladies and gentlemen, please go ahead and connect with him in the show notes. Tell him that you heard him on the Sales Evangelist podcast and that you're super grateful for the opportunity to have him take part on this episode and to share his wisdom. I mean, there's so many different ways you can incorporate videos in your sales journey. And I love the fact of re-engaging people, or even down the pipe when I'm bringing other people in and want to give them updates on the deal. it's an awesome opportunity, awesome tool. We utilized it recently, and it was able to help me close a deal, and also help me to bring others into the deal, and it was just fantastic. So, anyways, go ahead and check it out. Find all the details in the show notes. Go ahead and check out our sponsors as well, because they're giving us amazing offers that you could take and utilize. Make sure to share this podcast with one person who you know that could benefit from it as well. Connect with Chad, and let's show him some love, show him some TSC love. As always, I want you to go out and thrive. I want you to find more of your ideal customers. I want you to know what to say when you reach out to them. I want you to close more deals. But most importantly, I want you to raise your level of thinking and go out and do big things. Thanks so much for listening.